Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cordiamal Studios in High Street, Dunmore, for the 2021 Mol Cup Draw, the eagerly awaited draw. Delighted to be joined by our captain, Paul Cheever, here tonight, who's going to do the actual draw. But let's look back on what happened last year, when a very emotional win, when Ollie Turner and Pat Gleeson, the two of them, won a traumatic final in Tulfaris Golf and Country Club. And this year, we have a record entry of 36 teams. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide them into 12 groups of 3. So each group will see 2 matches played per group, with the 12 winners qualifying for the last 16. Accompanying the 12 winners will be the 4 best runner-up positions from the 12 groups. So basically the message here is score as many points as you possibly can throughout the 2 matches that you play, and the very best of luck to everybody. Just to remind you, everybody will be playing off their course handicap for these matches. Not 95% or anything like that, there's no confusion. You play off your full course handicap. But also to remind you, because it's a high-low system whereby one player is from handicapped 0 to 16 and the other player is handicapped from 17 upwards, we must remind you that one player, there's a minimum of one player must be playing from 0 to 16 at all times. It may be a case whereby both unfortunately end up playing below 16 because you play off your current handicap at the day of the matches. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to ask Paul, who's going to draw the balls,
okay.
And let's see who's paired with who. Best of luck, everybody.
Right, first number out is can you see that? Number 4.
Number 4 is Martin Walsh Jr. and David Geraghty, and they're in Group 1.
Okay.
Also in Group 1, so we're going to fill the groups as we go along.
Number 12.
Number 12 is Mike Swinhoe and Pete Totten.
Number 32.
Number 32 is Conor Walsh and Shane Gleeson from Cloonmore.
Number 24.
Number 24, so this is the first team in Group 2, so that's Trevor Nee and John Barrett.
Number 15.
Number 15 is Marty Kelly and Pat Connelly.
Number 14.
Number 14 is James Noon and David Dolan.
Ooh, tough group there.
Tough group. So that's the first 2 groups.
Okay.
On to Group 3.
Number 33.
Number 33. It's Colin Daly and Pádraig Donlan. Colin back, great to see him back playing golf again this year after a sabbatical away of about 3 seasons.
Number 7.
Number 7, it's Niall Cloonan and Sean Cloonan. We'll be interested to get some reaction from Niall or Sean and maybe later on.
Nobody wants to do the third team in here. Oh, and unlucky for some, number 13.
Number 13, it's Conor Nocton and Dara Keeley. And on that note, actually, because I just want to wish these 2 guys the very best of luck. They're leaving cert exams in the next couple of weeks. Best of luck, guys. Obviously, they won't be playing their first round match in the next couple of weeks, so we'll try and get the other two to play their first round first, so that the lads can study. On to Group 4.
Number 9.
Number 9, it's Fintan O'Neill and Pat Finnegan.
And number 28.
Number 28, it's Brendan McGuinness and Martin Walsh. Which one is the real priest?
Okay, and number 16.
Sweet 16, it's Michael Walsh and Declan Conway. So brothers in arms fighting against each other. That's a tough group.
Yes.
Group 5.
Okay.
Group 5. First team out is
number 10.
Number 10. It's John O'Mahony and Thomas Gleeson. An unknown pairing, but a very, very, very phenomenal pairing.
Decided. Number 11.
Number 11. It's Mark Cohn and Jamie Cohn. Look at that.
21.
Number 21, it's Jarlath Lally and Billy Duffy.
That's another group one, is it?
That is in Group 5.
Okay.
On to Group 6. First team in Group 6 is
31.
number 31, it's Micheál Turner and Rory Coyne in Group 6. Second team out is
Number 1.
number 1, the defending champions. They're number 1 for a reason. It's Ollie Turner and Pat Gleeson. So Micheál and Ollie drawn against each other.
22.
Number 22, it's Martin Silk and Niall O'Connor. And we may hear from a couple of those opponents later on in.
Okay, now, number 5.
So this is the first team in Group 7. Number 5, it's Roger Silk and Tom Comer. Runners up in the very first Mol Cup final, if I'm not mistaken. And still talking to each other, obviously, 5 years on.
Number 19.
Number 19, it's Paul Cheevers, yourself, and Mick Corley, also runners up.
Bridesmaid. And number 2.
And number 2, it is a group of the runners up.
Really?
Because number 2, it's Conor Finn and Eamon Cloonan. So we have Mick. Let me see. Number 5 was Roger and Tom. Yes, runners up. Number 19 was Paul and Mick, runners up. And number 2, Conor Finn and Eamon Cloonan, runners up. One of you is gone. One of you ain't going to make the last 16. On to Group 8, Paul.
Okay, number 17.
Number 17, it's James Gaffney and Paul Fitzgibbon, who some say this is the last year that they're going to try, but they've said that after the first year, 3-4 years ago. So they're still together.
Number 26.
Number 26, it's Joe Lally and John Joe Welby. And the last group in Group 8 is, Paul?
Number 30.
Number 30, it's Niall Tierney and Larry Reddington, the 2019 champions. Okay, so we have 4 groups left, so there should be 12. Please God, there's 12 balls left in the drum. So on to Group 9.
Okay, last number, 36.
Number 36, it's Diarmuid Walsh and Brian King.
Interesting pair in there.
Diarmuid unknown because he like Connor or like Colin Daly is just back playing golf as well, so unknown to see what he's like.
Number 6.
Number 6, it's Neville Garvey and Mickey Kane. Some would say, actually, looking back, sorry Paul, but last year Neville Garvey and Mickey Kane scored phenomenally well in the group stages, but unfortunately were beaten. They actually scored more points than some of the qualifiers that did get through, but just unlucky to be in the group of death last year. So hopefully best of luck to them this year. So the last team in Group 9 is
25.
number 25, and that is a team of Philip MacDonald and Pádraig Lee.
Philip, past winner.
Philip's past winner with El Mouso, yes. Group 10, Paul. So the first team out.
Number 8.
Number 8, it's Brian Sweeney and George Broom.
Number 23.
Number 23, it's Micheál Burke and Shane Gleeson from Addergool.
Number 3.
Number 3, it's my good self and Jim Reddington.
Okay.
Okay, I think the less said about that, the better. But so myself and Jim, I know Jim is tuned in. We have Brian Sweeney and George Broom. You may not be staying in Broon's house that night, Jim. You're welcome to stay in mine. And then also 23, it's Micheál Burke and Shane Gleeson from Addergool. Tough one, Jim, a tough one.
No.
6 balls left, Group 11.
27.
Number 27, it's Tom Fleming and Jackie Cheevers.
Yes.
Will Daddy be thankful to you, Paul?
Oh, I wonder.
Great to see Tom Fleming back playing golf too. Number 27 and number
29.
29, it's Glenn Corbett and John P. Kane. Finn's hurling goalkeeper. I think, Glenn Corbett. So he's obviously well able to hit a ball.
35.
Number 35. It's Father Michael Farher and Barry Ward. Barry is new to the game of the last year or so, but I'm telling you, he'll be a very handy partner for Father Michael Farrer, but no swearing, Barry. 3 left. So this is the final group. Thank God, Paul, or because we are live, we can't go and redo it again. So the last 3. Group 12.
Number 18.
Number 18, it's Warren Nestor and Shamie Mahan.
So then it's 34.
Number 34, it's Cathal Walsh and Shay Kennelly.
And then the last ball is number 20.
Number 20, it's Tom McGee and John O'Malley, who probably thought, were they in the draw at all?
That's it.
So there you have it, folks. We have 12 groups. To remind you, the 12 winners of the groups will automatically go through to the last 16, and the best 4 runners-up from the 12 groups will automatically also join those 12 winners. The next round draw will take place on Friday the 25th of June. So we've approximately a month, guys, to play 2 matches per group. It's very doable. I would encourage everybody, get in contact with your partner, first of all, and B, your opponents. Try arrange these matches as soon as you possibly can. We also have Jimmy Howley match play draw this night next week. So there's going to be quite a lot of action on the golf course for the next number of weeks. So in the best interest of getting this competition running as smooth as possible, I'd encourage you to please make that phone call as soon as possible. To Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're just a genius at this now. I suppose after being captain last year and again captain this year, you're well used to doing draws. Now we're finished here, but we're now going to go to the studio where Ollie is joined with Martin and some guests from Studio 1. Over to you guys.
Good luck.
Thanks a million, Nicky. I don't know, should we even be talking to one another here? Because, well, we didn't plan this, but we're after coming out in the one draw together. Apologies if I look a little bit red. I was out in Galway Bay today and got absolutely scalded. So we'll start at the beginning, Martin, because we've got a couple of guys that are going to be joining us in a moment as well. So Martin Welsh Jr. and David Geraghty, Mike Swinoe, Pete Totten, Conor Welsh and Shane Gleeson. I mean, even making predictions on any of these groups seems mere folly because anything could happen there. Martin Welsh Jr. and Dave Geraghty put up 49 points in last year's competition. They look like a standout pairing.
They're a formidable outfit. They're probably the most informed pairing in the group. If you go by Mol history and so on, I wouldn't rule out Mike Swinoe and Peter Totten. Those guys are well able to play golf and they will not be. Now, Conor and Shane, these guys are capable of racking up 50 points in a, you know what I mean, in a better ball situation on the day. So that's an interesting group. You could have, very easily, you could have a best qualifier coming out of that group as well, because all of those guys are able to play golf. They all have good, decent handicaps because the low guys are all in the middle range.
We might put up those teams on the ticker across the bottom of our screen in a few moments. So we'll get Rachel to copy those teams off the Facebook posts and put them up. Group 2, an all Williamstown pairing here. Trevor Nee, who joins John Barrett. This is John's first time, I think, playing in the Mol Cup. So welcome, John, to the competition. But again, you, Martin, running those midweek 9 holes last year, I'd say if John Barrett wanted to open a sports shop in Williamstown, he'd probably be entitled at this stage.
He certainly would, or maybe even a wine shop. But yeah, this is an interesting group. Trevor, I don't know much about him. He hasn't really got a huge playing history. John is building a big playing history and a very formidable player. A player indeed with a decent enough handicap index. Trevor would be the low guy there, but again, he's in the middle range. Marty Kelly, Pat Kennelly, the old dog for the road, you just wouldn't know how that one would go. And James Noon, James is back, coming back and over and so on. But James, to be fair, he hasn't played much golf this year. Porrick's handicap index is very decent in comparison to the handicap he enjoyed last year. So Porrick would have gone from the low category last year up into the high category, and off a course handicap in the region of 18. I guarantee you there'll be good matches in that group.
Group 3. So if you're following Facebook, Colin Daly and Porrick Donlan. Great to see Colin back. Porrick left it late. I don't know, was it by design or accident, but he's been landed with probably one of the great talents from a decade ago. Young Colin has gone around here many times in the past under par. They'll be a new but formidable partnership. The two Cloonans, Niall and Sean, who are tuned in with this as well. We might get reaction from those lads in a minute. And the two Leaving Certs, Conor Nocton and Derek Healy, who I might mention, we scraped home by a point in the last 16 round last year, Ollie Turner and Pat Gleeson. Jim Reddington joins us as well as the Cloonan lads in a few moments, so we'll get their reaction in a few seconds as well. But just to clarify that group 3, in case the lads were missing on the initial group 3 pairing, which has just been rectified. There's Sean Cloonan. Hi, Sean.
How are you, Sean?
Hi, Ollie.
So what are you thinking? I mean, there's your group being drawn out early doors in the Mol Cup. You're in with Colin Daly and Porrick Donlan. I think you've seen Colin up there practicing, haven't you, the last few evenings? Are you impressed?
Yeah. Sure, whatever happens, happens.
Okay. Did we wake you up or anything, Sean? Or you're okay? You don't mind talking to us? You're so relaxed there. You're horizontal. So you've been practicing a lot with Dad now. Do you think you're ready for a run at the Mol Cup?
Yeah, hopefully. Definitely,
I'd
I'd say.
watching this guy as well.
Yeah.
How's his handicap index going?
His handicap index is healthy, and as you said, Ollie, these guys have been out 2-3 evenings a week practicing for this event. So look out for this. I would be very wary of the other two pairings in this particular outfit, because the Cloonans are practicing, and there will be formidable opposition. The two lads that are doing the Leaving Cert, they might have other stuff in their minds this year, so watch out. I would put the house on the Cloonans being in the last 16.
Wow, that's a big call. Of course, it's the 12 group winners and the 4 best runners up. So even if you lose one of your matches and win the other, the thing is to get as many points up as possible. We'll get Jim's reaction in a moment to his group. Just to clarify, Group 4, Fintan O'Neill and Pat Finnegan back again. They're a partnership that have been there since the start.
Yeah.
Brendan McGuinness, first time in the Mol Cup. He's paired with Martin Welsh, a former partner and playing partner of yours every week. That's an interesting pairing, isn't it, Father Brendan and Priest?
Absolutely, and Father Brendan would have been on the lower side because Priest would have benefited from WHS to the extent that he's gone into the higher category this year. I lost out 2 years ago because he dropped below the cut line, and as a result I couldn't play with him. But Father Brendan is the low guy, but again he's up there around 14, 15, 16 handicap index, and Priest is up around 17 with the handicap index. And remember, these guys will be playing off their course handicap, so they'll have a shot at every hole. That's a fairly formidable pairing. Fintan, of course, is a great all-season campaigner, a former partner of mine in the 9-hole Inter-Club, and a fabulous golfer. Pat Finnegan benefited nicely from WHS. And, of course, Mouse has nothing to prove to anyone, a former finalist as far as
Mouse
I can remember.
and Declan Conway.
And Declan
That's
Conway,
a new pairing.
huge hitter with a big handicap index.
Okay, so we've got John O'Mahony and Thomas Gleeson together in Group 5. That's Lashin's son, Thomas. Mark Cohn is now with Jamie Cohn instead of Jimmy. So it's an all-youth Cohn Cousins group there. And Jarlath Lally and Billy Duffy are together as well. So again, that's a tight group. We'll rattle through them rather than doing all the groups. We mentioned our group. So there's myself and Glash, who need no introduction. Martin, you're back with Niall O'Connor, your son-in-law. And Micheál Turner with Rory Coyne. That's a completely new group. I don't know what to make of that pairing, other than Micheál has lost a few shots since last year. Here's one as well. Sean, what do you think of Eamon Cloonan's draw? Eamon and Connor are in with Roger Silk, that's Martin's brother, and Tom Comer, former finalists, and Paul Cheevers and Mick Corley, former finalists. So you're looking at 3 teams there: Roger Silk and Tom Comer, Paul Cheevers and Mick Corley, Conor Finn and Eamon Cloonan. 3 of the last 4 runners-up in the one group. Now, is that the group of death?
Yes.
Yes, but I hope, in all fairness to the 2 other teams, but I kind of want Eamon and Connor to go through, because I want to get revenge on them from last year.
Okay.
Jesus, I tell you, that man means business.
Tell me more. So did you lose out to Eamon and Connor last year in the knockout rounds?
Yeah, we were up by a point going down the last, and Connor birdied to win the match.
Wow.
And we would have got through otherwise.
Hold on, there's a violin here somewhere, Sean. I'm going to take it out. That's just the saddest story we've heard tonight. So that's motivation, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to get you back.
Well,
Okay,
you're definitely going to have to wait until at least the second round to get him back anyway, Connor, Sean, because you've missed out in the first round this year. But you'll be ready for him, I dare say.
well, if Niall and Sean get to meet Eamon and Connor,
That'll be the match
this
of the
video
year.
is going to be played back in the dressing rooms, and it'll be the motivation. Sean, I'll let you off. Thanks a million for joining us tonight. Now, Group 8, James Gaffney and Paul Fitz back again with Joe Lally and John Joe Welby and Niall Tierney and Larry Reddington. That's a pretty tough group as well. Niall and Larry, former champions in Moy Valley. Gaffo and Fitzy, Joe Lally and John Joe Welby. Let's move up along the line. Diarmuid Welsh, great to see him back with Brian King, who was very unlucky last year to lose out in the semi-finals when he was playing with Adam Canny. They lost out to Conor Finn and Eamon Cloonan, if I remember rightly, in a playoff that finished in the dark. Neville Garvey and Mike Kane, Nicky alluded already, they lost their 2 matches last year, and yet it ended up with an accumulative 89 points for their 2 matches and didn't qualify, which was really tough. And Philip McDonald and Porrick Lee, that's a new pairing as well, so that's very interesting. Right, Jim, we're going to bring you in on this one. Jim Reddington and Nicky Walsh with Brian Sweeney and George Broome and Micheál Burke and Shane Gleeson Adrigould, that's the young guns. So there's an interesting draw. Nicky and Jim, of course, only lost out by a point in the semi-finals last year to the eventual winners. What do you make of that draw, Jim?
Tough. We played, Nicky and I played George and Brian before. In fact, it was my first Mall match, and we just won it on the 18th. It was tough going. So I predict like that it'll be tight again. There's no two ways about it. There's going to be no easy match in any of the groups. That's being honest about it, you know.
That's the nature of it. It's on the day. And
That's it.
as well, Mark.
Yeah.
It's important.
And thankfully, I have 2 sisters in Dunmore, so I won't have to go to the green or to Sign Hill that evening. I'll be staying in the green. I'll be staying in the green, you know.
You have options.
Or I'll have to buy a camper.
Just to mention, any match level after 18 holes, there will be that 3-hole playoff. So every match has to have a result. There can't be a draw. So if you're level on points, let's say it's 44 all after 18 holes, then you play the usual first, 11th, and the 9th 3-hole aggregate playoff. So that's just to clarify that as well, in case anybody is wondering. Jim, interesting to get your reaction on some of the other groups, if you don't mind as well. And the last 2 groups in particular. Jackie Cheevers is paired up with Tom Fleming. Now, I don't know if you remember Tom from quite a few years ago. You certainly do, Mark. He was a low handicapper. He was down to 4 or 5 last time I checked. So there's a huge addition. We've got some low handicappers back in the club this year.
Yes, absolutely.
So Jackie and Tom, Glenn Corbett out of Chaggask and Headford. How are you, Glenn? Great to have him playing golf. He's with John P. Kane, musician and all-round legend. And of course, he's playing plenty of golf up here as well. And Father Michael Farrer, who would have been with Porrick Waters, he's now with Barry Ward, who won last week, as in last Sunday week, with 39 points. So anything could happen there. What do you think of that, Jim? It's very
well. I think in that group, I tell you, Jackie is the dark horse. I played with Jackie down in Portumna last Saturday on the Ballyaleem outing, and everything was straight down the middle, you know. And Portumna was obviously is a way longer course than Dunmore, and I tell you, he'll be at home in Dunmore. You know, it's shorter course, everything down the middle. Jackie and his partner, I reckon, are serious contenders in that group.
Yeah, I don't know where Tom Fleming is at with his game, but like Martin, if he comes back half the pair he was.
Well, Tom,
he'd be formidable.
Yeah, Tom was recently set up again. He had been out of the game for 2 or 3 years, and he comes back with the handicap index. He's a former 5 handicapper. I think he comes back with the handicap index of something like 7.5 or 8 or something like that, which is a great playing handicap for him because he's capable of lots of birdies, but he's capable of parring every hole up here with his eyes closed, regardless of how long he's out of the game. He has played a bit of golf, and I believe he's playing quite well. But the dark horse in that particular pairing is Jackie, because Jackie, this time last year, as far as I know, Jackie was a 14 handicapper. Jackie has a shot at every hole, at least, for this event, because remember, he's playing off his course handicap. And his course handicap of his 18.2 handicap index will give him 19 or 20 shots. So Jackie can use them to great effect, and I agree with you, Jim. But there's one other pairing in the whole mix here that I'm just watching. The guy that had 43 points last Sunday as his ease, and his partner, who has a very decent handicap index, is Jarlath Lally and Billy Duffy in Group 5. Watch out for those guys, lads. I would be tipping them to top that group with a hefty score after their 2 matches. In relation to something else that was alluded to, the young guys coming back, Colin Daly, Diarmuid Welch is back, Cathal Welch is Tom Fleming. These are formidable golfers, guys, and these are the guys that will be representing this club. Had their handicap indices been active on the 1st of January, these are the guys that would actually be going out to represent the club in the Jimmy Brown and the mixed and the various different events that are coming up in the next month. But because they weren't active on the 1st of January, they can't. But be very, very wary. These guys are able to play golf, and they will not lie down easily. They're able to score.
Yeah, lots of great
really
groups.
Are, absolutely.
I know we're glossing over some of the groups, but Group 12, let me mention Warren Nestor and Shamie Mahan. Now, they play a lot of golf together, especially during the week. And Warren, like a good racehorse, is well handicapped still. Shamie, well handicapped, and really put on a brilliant performance last year in the Mall. Another of these teams, last year he played with Eddie Killian when they came again within a point of myself and Glosh. Cathal Walsh is back with Shay Kennelly, so the 2 neighbours are linking up there. And Tom McGee with John O'Malley, again, 2 lads who played together just before you, Jim, on a Sunday morning. They're out early as well.
John O'Malley has taken this very, very seriously this year. He went to a consultant in the Galway clinic last week, and he was diagnosed with a minor lower back ailment, and he's going to have surgery. And the consultant has more or less told John that will get rid of his slice. So it just shows you how serious John O'Malley has taken this Mol Cup this year.
That's different level stuff, isn't it?
I tell you, that's total commitment now. Absolutely total commitment.
Now for drug testing and all that type of stuff. I wonder are they able for matches or
if you can afford to go to the Galway clinic to rectify your slice, then I'd say
you can afford to cover it.
That's a great group. We've done Cathal and Shay, Warren and Shamie, and John O'Malley and Tom McGee. Look at lads, that's it. That's where we can leave it for now. The groups, as you can see, are going up underneath us there on the ticker. Just to recap again. So Group 1, Martin Welch Jr. and Dave Geraghty, in with Mike Swinow and Pete Totten and Conor Walsh and Shane Gleeson from Cloonmore. Again, it's a brilliant group. And by the way, just a reminder to any of the groups here, these matches can be arranged from next week on. So you've got a month to play your 2 group games, so there's no huge pressure. I'm conscious as well that some people are away and may have to play their group matches on Saturdays. That's fine too. We would prefer, and I think Martin would allude to this, and I know Nicholas from talking to him as well, we do prefer if the matches are played standalone. In other words, that you don't double up and use your Mol Cup match as also a means of playing in an 18-hole stable for the stroke play club competition. They need to be 2 separate competitions. In the past, we have doubled up, but we've given you extra time. There should be no reason, really, for anybody to do that. So if
can I just come in on that point? Guys, if you do double up, it will melt your head. For the simple reason that these matches are all played. You play your match in this competition off your course handicap. And then any other event you'd be doubling up in, we'll say if you decided to play a match on a Saturday and enter the weekend competition, you would actually be playing off 95% of your course handicap for the competition, and you'd be playing off your full course handicap for the match play. And to be quite honest with you, it would do your head in, because nobody will know how you've done at the end of the day. Take Ollie's advice. Play it as a standalone round of golf and leave it at that. Certainly forget about the general play rounds or the casual rounds for handicap, they will not be accepted if it's played in the context of a Mol Cup match.
So what normally happens is when you put your names down as a 4-ball and you book a slot on the Dunmore Domain Timesheet WhatsApp group, they will be highlighted in yellow. Joan will do that, our administrator, and that will highlight it as a Mol match. And that's all it is a Mol match. As Martin says, not a casual round, and it certainly won't double up as a competition at the weekends, even if you do play it on a Saturday or Sunday. Martin, you might explain, and again, the groups are going up underneath there, I mean, how somebody can work out what they're playing off for a Mol Cup match.
But the handicap you play off in a Mol Cup match is the course handicap that your handicap index on the day of the match will give you. So on the day of the match, if you're not sure what your handicap index is, walk into the clubhouse, tap the screen, put in your name or your 8-digit number or swipe your card, and your handicap index will be shown on the screen. Then all you have to do is go to the board behind you where this sheet is displayed, and you'll see your course handicap opposite your particular handicap index. That's all you have to do, and that is the course handicap is the handicap you play off for the Mol Cup.
To make it simple, either myself, Martin or Nicky will be there for practically all of those group games to give you any advice if it's needed. In particular, if you play a match on a Monday or a Tuesday after you've played the weekend competition, unbeknownst to you, your handicap index may well have changed, either for the better or worse, depending on your attitude. You will know that from checking out How Did I Do or downloading the app. But if it sounds complicated, don't worry. One of us will be there. We'll be keeping an eye on the timesheet to make sure that we know when there's matches being played. As I say, there's 12 groups. There's only 2 matches in each group. There's 3 matches in each group. So once we get those 36 group games played, we will then have our last 16 knockout. And if your handicap changes as this competition goes along, it's important to note as well, Martin, from a handicap point of view, if you start off and you're in the bubble of a player that comes in at 16 or under and your handicap goes out to 17 or 18, I'm sorry, but the most you can play off as a low handicap player is 16. So unfortunately, if you do get a shot back or 2 shots back in the duration of the next month, you're still going to play off 16 because that's the max.
That is your handicap index, Ollie.
Yeah, that's
your course handicap will probably be 17. You'll actually be playing off 17 in the match. If you came in as a 16 handicapper, what was the cut-off point?
16.
16. Okay. So if you're 16, you might be 15.8 or 15.9, which will actually give you a course handicap maybe of 17. You play off 17. It's the handicap index that Ali is referring to. If your handicap index goes above 16, you still have to play off your handicap index for the remainder of the competition off a handicap index of 16 or less.
Anyway, that'll work itself out. Let's not complicate things too much. The groups are going up under there as well. We're at Group 5. We'll clarify all that again. John O'Mahony, Thomas Gleeson, Mark and Jamie Cohen, Jal Ali and Billy Duffy. That's underneath there as well. By the way, Martin's video trying to explain World Handicap System has just passed 1 billion views. The Chinese in particular, Jim, you were saying to me, are very thankful for Martin explaining it because they couldn't find anybody out there to work out all these indexes and indices and complications and whatnot.
I heard they're actually using it as the virus now to get into webs all over the world, you know. And there's no antidote apparently, you know.
Listen, the groups are going to be posted here, and if you haven't found out your group already, we'll be putting them up again in a few moments' time. That's where we're going to leave it from the Cordial Studios. As I said, thanks to Jim, thanks to Sean Cloonan, who joined us a little bit earlier on, to Nicky and Paul, and to Martin for joining us here as well. That's where we leave things from High Street Dunmore, as was pointed out earlier on by our presenter Nicky, who got a much fancier studio. We're happy enough though with our surrounds here as well. I must say that the decor is excellent as well. We're also hovering around here in the off chance that there might be a couple of vaccines flying. If there are, good and well, I'll give you a shout later on.
I'm not letting Keating vaccinate me. No, not happening.
Get out and enjoy the Mol Cup. And by the way, I can announce now at the end of this as well, as we see Group 6 being appointed as well, that whoever does get through to the final, the last 2 pairs standing will be heading to the new course in Headford in Kells, County Meath for the Mol Cup final. And that will include as well one night's accommodation, a practice round, and then the match itself. So it's a lovely prize to be involved in. The entry fee is €10 per player before the start of the Mol Cup at all. So just put that in the envelope and throw it into the green fees box. And we'll be getting up and underway with the matches. And we'll keep you posted on Facebook right throughout the course of the months of June and July. It's expected that the final will be played in the first week in August, in and around what would have been festival time. We hope that there will be some sort of a Dunmore festival. So late July, early August is scheduled for the Mol Cup final. And while I have this opportunity, Jim was telling me that the Hit It and Sip It tour is now heading for Wicklow in early September, the 1st and 2nd of September. That's a men's club trip. So I'm sure Fitzy and the guys will be publicising how you can get involved in that if you're a male golfer. I suppose it's our last connection with Portmarnock, the Hit It and Sip It tour. So we're trying to maintain as a message comes in from Nuala there saying hello to Martin.
I know that.
As well. So more about that and that. Enjoy your Mol Cup, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. God bless.
Bye.
Good luck.